Okay. Hello. Oh, there we go. Hello. Good evening. Welcome. Sorry we're a little bit behind. We're missing two of our presenters. We're hoping they're going to show up, and we'll then have our full panel. We'll see. But I am glad that you are here. My name is Kirsten Sowie-Hoffman. I serve as pastor for this congregation. We are delighted to be with you tonight. As the front of your program says, the mission is possible because you are here. I want to welcome you to Lord of Life in this room, to our presenters, to those online. Hello. The awesome gift of being able to live stream these events is that they are automatically recorded, and you can then go share them with people or go back and watch ones that you missed. We've had some amazing conversations these last few nights. I want to say just something briefly about Mission Possible itself. So Mission Possible is the annual servant learning opportunity of this congregation. It started in 2005 under the leadership of our retired deacon Heidi Cryer. Mission Possible uses an accompaniment model of service where we seek to learn from those in need by being with them and listening to their stories. We seek to be part of what is already being done and to interact with agencies that provide direct services in our community. We recognize that joining together is the best way to address our community's challenges. Mission Possible has taken place at various places in various locations over the years, sometimes local, regional, national, even international. Being local this year allowed us to kind of rethink things, and I'm so proud of our planning team that came up with many ways for us to engage together. I want to acknowledge them since they have worked so hard, and I've acknowledged them every night, but that's important for us to do. So they have organized all of our opportunities this week for service and learning and tours and lunches and the evening presenters, and we need to say thank you. So I'll ask them to stand. The first one I'm going to name is Carol Moser, and Carol is not with us because she's doing a Rotary thing in Canada. Hi, Carol. And then our other team members are Susan Shipman and Marlise Wutig and Donna Carey. If you would stand, please. Is there anybody that participated in any projects or tours or anything today in the room? Awesome. Some good participation. That's great. And I know we were engaging with some of the ministries that are up here today, which is wonderful. Your program tells you who the evening speakers are. However, some of you, if you've been coming, you have the yellow version maybe. That's the older version. We had to update it to a green version with some changes for tonight. Or white, thank you. So we got to add a couple of people and some name changes for organizations and things like that. There's the backside is blank if you want to take notes or write down your questions for the Q&A later, whatever that is. There's extra pens back there if you need them. And then just a few housekeeping things. If you need the bathroom, it's right down the hall on the left or all the way down at the very end of the building on the right. There is childcare, so you can invite those with littles if you know people that have been wanting to be here. Our dinners have been lovely, and you could bring your own water bottle filled with water if you don't want to use the bottles and, add to the trash. Let's see. Please silence your cell phones. That's always an important thing for us to do. And then we're going to get into our content for tonight. So our focus tonight is on resources for women and veterans and St. Vincent's, is what were my notes that I had. So I'm going to introduce our moderator. Tobaski Snipes is the founder and CEO of Snipes H3, which is an organization that seeks to empower individuals experiencing homelessness, especially young adults aged 18 to 24. Tobaski is also the chair of the Continuum of Care program for our area, which seeks to assist individuals and families experiencing homelessness with the goal of long-term stability. Thanks for being our moderator, Tobaski. I'll hand it over to you.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me. first off, seeing some familiar faces in the audience and seeing some new faces in the audience. So appreciate for those that have been here to let your friends know what Lord of Life Church is doing with their mission, not just to help the community, but hopefully empower communities, surrounding communities as well, that see how something this successful can operate. Once again, to all the volunteers that's been out there and on the ground, coordinating everything, and actually out there putting their boots to the ground, it's been awesome. They came and volunteered at Snipes H3, did a phenomenal job, and we appreciate you and for all the work that y'all are doing. Today I'm going to give you a list of our panelists today. So we have, there's not Dave Miller on the end. Hopefully he's able to make it, but we have Amanda Lorraine with Grace Collective. We have James Hamilton, and James is with St. Vincent's. And then we have Joyce Gilbert, who's also with St. Vincent's. And then it goes by, the name here is on the front, Seimu, but it goes by Shem. So they're going to be our presenters today. Each of them is going to have approximately 7 to 9 minutes to talk about their organization and what's important to them and how y'all can help them out. So we'll start off from left to right and go for it, Miss Amanda. You have the floor. We'll just go over to the podium and then take it from there.
Hello, church.
Hello.
I feel like I've been with you quite a bit over the years, so thank you for your support. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Grace Collective. It's been the absolute privilege and joy of my life to be able to walk alongside some of the bravest and most resilient women I've ever met. Women who have risen from the darkest places you can imagine in their lives, and they have become community members and visionaries, and I get to watch as they just transform and heal their families, and they're breaking down cycles of generational poverty, sexual exploitation, trafficking, addiction, and incarceration. Grace Collective, we are a local nonprofit in downtown Pasco. We offer hope and opportunity for lasting change to women survivors of poverty and exploitation. We do this by fostering a community of grace where women learn job and life skills that enable them to gain sustainable employment and a secure future for themselves and their children. We believe and we have a vision that all women can be free from poverty and exploitation. Grace Collective was birthed out of my own story. Like many of the women we serve, I also grew up living in extreme poverty and homelessness, which took me to the streets at 15 years old, where I experienced a life myself in exploitation and addiction for many years. By the grace of God, Jesus rescued me, and here I am today, getting to walk alongside these incredible women. So we launched Grace Kitchen, as you knew it. We just recently changed our name 4 years ago on December 3rd of 2020 with a vision to create this safe, sanctuary, holistic job and life skill program for women survivors coming out of these situations. Well, to meet the needs of so many women that started walking through our doors, we started expanding our services. We started with our job training program. Within our 18-month paid job training program, women are taught small business skills with our pasta and our spice company. I'm sure many of you have tasted that delicious pasta made by the women. Our catering program, we launched recently our bath and home goods lines. We have professional development classes every day for the women we serve. And soon to launch, coming up, is our new Grace Cafe. So you can come down and have some lunch and meet some of the incredible women of Grace Collective. We've also expanded our services to offer intensive case management, legal support, assistance with reunification with children, access to higher education, housing, in-house counseling services, and trauma-informed care. And that all happens during the women's paid work day at Grace Collective. These women need a break. And so for 18 months, this is what we do with them. A recent study by Forbes said that when women are given good jobs, they will reinvest 90% back into their communities, back into their families, into education, nutrition, And that's what's going to heal our community. 90%. That's going to improve the whole quality for the next generation and the whole community here in the Tri-Cities. And this is the way we break down cycles. All of these programs, we're working together, breaking down cycles of poverty, exploitation, addiction, homelessness, and sex trafficking in our city by providing a place where women can come and heal from trauma, learn to work, and then graduate after 18 months into full-time living wage jobs where they can actually rise out of poverty, stand on their own 2 feet, and not have to rely on just solely government dependency or fall back into those destructive patterns. And we see these people on the streets, we all see them, we drive our cars, and we see these people that seem so strung out. And it's so easy for us to turn a blind eye and say, oh my gosh, they're too far gone. There's no hope for that person. But there is hope. And something I think about all the time is this quote by Corrie ten Boom. Anybody love Corrie ten Boom in this room?
Yeah.
So she was a Dutch woman during World War II, and she risked her life to hide the Jews from the Nazis. She survived a concentration camp, and then she went on to share the radical message of love and forgiveness with the world. And she said this quote, that there's no pit too deep, that God's love is not deeper still. And we see this hope every day at Grace. And I know these people on this panel see that hope as well. I'm going to share some stories with you, but I'm changing the names to protect identity. So speaking of hope, we've seen it in Maria, whose story of trauma and abuse led her to the streets, like me as a young girl, until that hot summer day in July of 2023. She was sitting outside of Grace Collective. She yelled some 4-letter words at us, which I won't repeat tonight. But we kept coming out, and she eventually made her way in. She found her voice, and now she's mentoring other women to rise with her. She gets to do our grant compliance and works alongside women who are still stuck on the margins, bringing them into a place of belonging. And then there's Rachel. Rachel spent most of her life in the foster care system, which took her to the streets. She was lost, being trafficked, incarcerated, and addicted for many years. But today, she's free, and she's trusted with a lot of responsibility at our organization. A single mother to 5 children, she's leading with humility and tenacity. I'm so proud of her. Her life is an absolute testimony of the grace of God and the power of what happens when we create spaces in our city for women to find their way back home. So that's the heartbeat of Grace Collective, restoring dignity, telling women who they are, made in the image of God, dearly loved, valued, and restored. Ephesians 3:20 says, we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God has prepared beforehand, that we should walk in them. And these girls are getting to walk into those gifts as they begin to explore who they are, made in the image of a holy God. So right now at Grace Collective, we have 17 women. We are way overstaffed, but that's okay because women need us. 17 women employed who are currently in our program. We have, last year we were able to provide 14,000 hours of paid life and job skill training. We will double that this year. 2,100 hours of case management, 285 hours of outreach services for women on the streets. Several women were receiving legal assistance to expunge felonies so they could gain access to future employment opportunities. 4 women received their driver's license in their 30s. That's huge because women cannot rise out of poverty without reliable transportation. It's impossible. 13 women and their children were placed in stable housing. Over 500 hours of professional development were given, learning basic computer skills, Microsoft Office suite. And since the start of Grace Collective, we have been able to have 33 children reunited with their mothers out of the foster care system in 4 years. Yeah. So that's how we break cycles of human trafficking. So since opening, we've graduated 16 women into meaningful careers and full-time employment. And again, these women are making sustainable wages, supporting themselves and their families apart from relying on those government programs or falling back into a trafficker or gang member's hand. So 5 graduates have joined our leadership team. I'm sure many of you met some of them today. They were giving a tour in my absence. So the women have grown the business of Grace Collective from 2020. They've expanded our sales of our pasta, our bath and home goods, our jewelry, our catering, and our wholesale accounts. That's what the girls do during the day, and they keep everyone very busy. And those sales of the products that the girls make, they provide 35% of our annual operating budget. So the other 75% of what pays the women's wages for us to be able to provide all of these wraparound services for the girls we serve is our local community, the local churches and businesses that continue to say yes and step up and support the women we serve. So thank you so much for saying yes to the women. We also offer outreach days where we're providing showers, housing, hygiene, all of that, because when a woman is stuck in sex trafficking, she may only have a shower to get away from her pimp. And so we have that shower service to be able to connect with those girls and get them in and tell them about their program and tell them how they can become free. So I want to end with this quote by a dear friend of mine. His name is Father Greg Boyle. It says, "Only kinship, inching ourselves closer to creating a community of kinship such that God might recognize it. Soon we imagine with God the circle of compassion. Then we imagine no one standing outside that circle, moving ourselves closer to the margins so that the margins themselves will be erased. We stand there with those whose dignity has been denied. We locate ourselves with the poor and the powerless and the voiceless. At the edges, we join the easily despised and the readily left out. We stand with the demonized so that the demonizing will stop, and we situate ourselves right next to the disposable so that the day will come when we stop throwing people away. Thank you.
Wow. That was pretty powerful. That shows how innovative we are as a community to help people no matter where they are. Using showers to free somebody mentally and physically, like, mind-blowing. Great job. All right, next up we have James Hamilton. Are y'all going to speak together? However you want to do it. Or Joyce. St. Vincent de Paul is up next. And while they're setting up, keep in mind to remind all of your friends and family to go back to Lord of Life Facebook page. All of this is being streamed online. So if you weren't here the past few days, or if you're not going to make it tomorrow, then you can watch it online.
Good afternoon. That's our warehouse. There's a conveyor belt in there. They take a tray, put their box or bag, as so many of you have already seen, and they walk through there and they get what they want to eat and they go home. We're serving approximately 1,800 now? It was
About 1,600.
1,600 families every Wednesday in 5 hours. Mm-hmm. It's a rush. It said 14, now it's up to 16. We have a clothing department and we have a food department. And I think that's the end of it.
That's it.
That's it? We're done. We, with you, are the hope and love that many of the people on the street see, the only hope and love they see. I'm involved with a street outreach. My main focus is to recruit people to volunteer with us. You're all welcome. And to find food at outreaching areas for our community because our volume of food is diminishing. So we have a new truck to go out and find it. I'm also involved with the street outreach. I am familiar with probably most of the people on the street. I have seen the individual ladies that are being trafficked. I have seen the drug dealers. I have seen many, many things. What we are doing with our street outreach is to provide a little snack of food that they will eat, and there's a note. It has our name, our phone number, and our address. I encourage them all to come on Wednesday and see a free doctor, find clothing, find food, and find welcome. And it's working. We have had approximately 100 or 150 new returning homeless on 1 week, and maybe 10 or 15, 20 new every week because of our street outreach. Now I'm going to pass it to a more beautiful one, her.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joyce Gilbert, and Jim is our outreach coordinator, and bless his heart, he is the one that he sees these faces every day, and we have a small group that does that. I'm their vice president for charitable giving, and what I wanted to do with you today is share with you a little bit about what we do at St. Vincent de Paul. It's the food bank and community services. We are the largest food bank in Benton and Franklin County together. If you take the state of Washington, you cut it in half. On the eastern side, we're one of the largest. There's probably about 3 or 4 that are equal or a little bit larger than us, but we are very, very large. What Jim was talking about, we're open to the public on Wednesdays from 11 to 4, and during those 5 hours, we're serving 1,600 families food. You add another 200 that come in for free clothing, and then you'll add probably another 50 or more that will come in seeking other assistance. And that other assistance could be things like they may need help with their utilities, or they may need help with something else, transportation. But what ends up happening is, I think what makes it a little bit unique for us is that we consider ourselves, and I think our neighbors in need consider us to be that open door to hope. Because it isn't just passing somebody food. Are you hungry? It isn't that. It's really the eye-to-eye contact that we have with them. Those folks that are coming in, they know us, and we know them. We recognize them. We know the ones that are the repeats, and those that are new, we welcome them. So they come in, and we hear their story. You have to have that listening attention to hear the story. Some people just want to come to socialize. That's an okay thing. And then there are those that really, they need that help. And that help can be the friendship, the love that you give. The other help is getting them to understand that if you're receiving 80 pounds of food or more, maybe that's your, I hate to use it as discretionary because everything is becoming to the point where it's essential funds. But those remaining essential funds, they're not spending it on the food, they're now being able to use that for other resources. Could be utilities, it could be transportation, whatever the case may be. But it's listening to that story and trying to hear what that real need is. So real quick, I just mentioned the food aspect of it. So I just took data from April just because I was in a hurry. And so in April alone, we had 317 new families that came in for food only. We had 5,300 families returning in the month of April. We distributed 560,000 pounds of food in the month of April, and there were 900 families receiving clothing. It's a lot of people. So within that, what do we do when I'm thinking of the homeless? We've got the homeless packets that Jim talked about. These homeless things, we'd break it up. We say for the homeless that come in, they get about a 20-pound bag when they come in on Wednesday. It's a variety of food that doesn't need cooking. And then we also have homeless packets that are distributed to those that are living under the bridge. They're on the streets, they're whatever. That's that outreach that we're doing for them. That adds up to a lot of food each month that we do. We also do distribute hygiene kits. Those hygiene kits, we have family kits that we issue on a monthly basis, and then we have the individual men and women's kits that come in and that we actually distribute and make out for individuals. We do hygiene. Hygiene is also for babies, and you got to think about this one because it makes my mind start thinking a lot. We provide diapers, 2 days worth of diapers. And you think, okay, well, how much is 2 days worth of diapers? Well, when you get a newborn, you know, and they're going to be in that 1 to 2, they're going through about 10 diapers in a day. Well, that's 20 diapers that you're giving them. It doesn't seem like a lot. It's not to give them something that they never have to go buy diapers again. It's to give them something to get them over that hurdle and give them connections on how they can get some help, right? So as we're doing that, we also do welcoming baby boxes. So when you have a new mother coming in or an expectant mother come in and maybe she's due within the month, we provide them with a welcome baby box, and in that box we have a group of ladies from one of the local churches that make these beautiful baby quilts. So they're these handmade quilts are in each box for a boy or a girl, and then they have some nice baby clothes in there. It's all fresh. They have some hygiene items in there, and of course, obviously, they have the baby diapers in there. When I kind of went to look at our data real quick, here's some data points. So we have about, let me look at this. We have about 200 babies who need diapers and clothing. That's about every week, all right? 200 babies. We have 2 to 3 pregnant or newborn moms each week that come in seeking one of those baby boxes. And then we have, if you kind of add that up, that's about 100 to 160 newborns arriving at our door annually. So when you look at that, these are these young mothers that have chosen life, and they already have these limited funds. So when I talk about this open door to hope, we sit down with these individuals, we welcome them, we let them know that we're here for them, we let them know what our hours are, and if there's something that we just can't be able to help them with, we don't just walk away or here's a phone number, go call, go call, go call. We try to make that phone call with them to get that connection to them. That to me is really super important. I think that you know, there are so many stories that are out there. I listened to the stories that were shared this afternoon, and I can just think of individuals that have come to us and they feel like they're at the rock bottom. And it has to be something within them that wants to make that change. And being able to listen and listen to that story, it becomes the most important thing. And when I look at what the mission of this organization, what we're trying to do and what is important with the homeless, I've talked to Tabowski many, many times, and it's something he has said, it's resonated with me for years. And it's the fact that we are a highly educated community. The Tri-Cities, we are highly educated, and we are a very intelligent community. And with those resources, it's this collaboration. It's things like this where we can stand in front of organizations and people, share with what we do, share with what we need. We always need volunteers. We are, with the exception of one person, we are 100% volunteer organization. I'm a volunteer. Jim's a volunteer. Everybody's a volunteer. We take 80 to 100 people on Wednesdays to serve that many people. And we count on those volunteers. We're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for donations. We're always looking for something as they're bringing those resources to us. But it's that collaboration and understanding what other organizations do and not duplicating what they're doing. Mm-hmm. It's learning what they do and reaching out to those organizations. So to me, that is my big takeaway, that I would like others to kind of relish and learn what other organizations do, because by learning, it helps us kind of not just look at our own backyard, but look at the bigger picture, look at the Tri-Cities as a whole, and try to figure out what we can do to help our homeless.
I don't know where y'all found all these amazing speakers, but it's just something that touches you inside when they share their stories on how they're helping other people and how they're able to overcome some of the things that they would have never imagined before. Their facility is not the biggest warehouse in the world. The team that they have is not the largest team in the world, but the impact that they have on this community is unmatched. So appreciate all the good work that y'all continue to do. All right, next up we have Shem with Lutheran Services. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Again, I go by Shem, though it's written like Sem. That's in my local language, but Shem is English. Shem, son of Noah in the Bible, right?
All right.
Okay, so I'm here on behalf of Lutheran Community Services Northwest for the only Tri-Cities, because we serve the whole state. There was on the west side, and we serve here only the Tri-Cities. And I'm a care coordinator on the WISE program, but we have other programs. We have the SWIFT program, we have the outpatient program as well. So, but specifically, I'm going to talk about how we work with homelessness populations in a WISE program. My accent can be a little challenging, but I'll try to speak up and go slow here and there such that that communication can be effective. So when we receive, basically we focus on mental health and behavioral health for kids under 21 years of age. And we serve different, people from different walks of life. And part of the populations we serve people experiencing homelessness and those who are at risk of becoming homeless. So what do? When they come to us, we do the intake assessment. We take through them, because we get referrals from different organizations, schools, for example, if I give an example, the ones that come from school, the teacher or the school counselor see this kid this youth in class, sleepy all the time, or seem hungry all the time, or seem depressed and all that. And then the question there, they'll be like, for them, they're going to refer them to us because something's maybe missing. So when they come to us, we take them through our assessment. And one of the questions we ask, why would someone act that way? What's getting in the way? What's the need behind what's going on? And then to find out, after taking through, we call it the CANS assessment, we assess for all the functioning of this youth and family in all domains. And be like, okay, according to their living situation, they live in a motel, or they're at risk of being kicked out from their apartment. So, or they don't even have what to eat at home, or dad lost a job yesterday and he's depressed, doesn't know what coming next, all those factors. And then we score them and be like, okay, that helps us to know where we're going to put our focus as an agency. So when they come to us, we assign them to different staff members to work with, and some of those, we call them family partners. These are trained staff who have mostly lived experiences, they can relate with the family of what they're going through, and then we start working with them. So one of the things we do, first we work on their mental health. Together we start working with them okay, if they're depressed, if they're having mental health challenges, so the chances of keeping a job are lower, right? Chances of being there, they can be there, but no one doing anything. At the end of the day, they are likely to lose their job. So we work on their mental wellness to be able to keep their jobs, and that puts them away from the risk of becoming homeless. And so at Lutheran Community Services, we support families in developing coping mechanisms and accessing support systems, reducing the likelihood of experiencing mental health crisis, that may lead to homelessness. So we focus on their mental health first, and then we create a plan with them how not to go back to where they are. So that way, because our program is temporary for them, like it's formal. So we even help them to create, we call them natural supports, build their natural support system. That way, if we are gone, they have people around them who can support them in something they want. So on top of that, we collaborate. I think when I heard everyone speaking here, it seems like we are doing the same thing. We are serving, we are doing we're providing same interventions. Pretty much we're touching on the same cause, you know what I mean? So we collaborate with system partners. Some of these families, they don't know where resources are. So part of our work we do, we connect families to resources. We sit with them. We provide contact information. I have a huge resource binder with a name, organization, contact person, and what services they can get from there. If you need food, here is a food pantry, or this is the food bank. So and so is the contact person. Here's the email. Some have the anxiety even to make an initial call to inquire what's there. So we sit with them. We make that initial call, like, hey, my name is so-and-so, I live in Pasco, we're going through this, and what services can we get from your agency? Be like, oh, we're open around this time, these are the services we can provide here and there, and then showing them how it's done, we're supporting them. And then the following day, this person is capable of doing it even when we transition them from our program, because we were their allies when they were going through a difficult situation, and now they're capable of doing it themselves. Some of those community partners I can mention from A to Z. We have Ben Franklin County Action Committee that's associated with the JJC, with the help youths who have been in detention when they're transitioning back to the community, providing those services. We partner with, we link them to like Safe Harbor. They offer support services and safe places to stay for homelessness teenagers in the Tri-Cities. And I think you've had some of them here speak, and I won't speak for any organization, but there are so many of them we collaborate with. So we focus at collaboration and help families make sure they get what they need. We have connecting families to job placement services. Again, we sit with them, come up with those resumes, look at them like, oh, this is good to go, connecting them to companies like Goodwill who can help them to find a job somewhere. They do job readiness trainings, resume and interview assistance, access to job leads, and vocational trainings. So I mentioned a couple here: Goodwill, Trinity Centers of Workforce Development Program, Catholic Charities, and among others. So those I've collaborated with, but the list can go on and on. In-house, we have different programs at Lutheran Community Services. We have our in-house pantry, which is being facilitated by, again, our local churches and others, so like individual partners and who are interested in the cause, supporting families. So they help us stock our pantry. Sometimes a family come to us when they don't have anything for dinner. Be like, hey, come on, let's check. Find something, grab, take home. Right. We have cleaning items for them they can take as well. We have our Thanksgiving basket. We provide those baskets during Thanksgiving like day to celebrate. Like, everyone is excited about holidays, right? Can you imagine them not celebrating, and these kids gonna go back to school sharing stories together with the kids who had a blast with other family members. This person is like, they will feel alone. Even school is not a safe space for them to be. So we make it colorful for them by providing Thanksgiving baskets. And then we have the Go Back to School Bash, where we provide school materials and all that. And then we have Buy to Go programs. Those are facilitated by our local churches still. And then we have our famous Holiday Lane. We provide or anything they may need. So they come for shopping. It's like that we said it, we have our big conference halls. I don't know if any one of you volunteered there. Yes, they know. So we have our conference halls like set up in a way they come, they do the shopping, and then they take stuff home to celebrate the holiday and feel like normal. You know, they're part of us. So that's pretty much how we work with those communities, and we are happy to be doing that kind of job. And shout out to everyone who is here and who have been doing a lot in our community. And I wish we had more people. We need more bodies. Like, don't know how many places have you gone to today? Like, many. If I wish we had like more people who can come in to volunteer, that would be the best. Most of the young people, we don't.
Right.
Like, we leave it to the volunteering, it's for old people, let them go. They don't have the energy. We have the energy to do it. It's kind of sad. So if you find me in a group of youths, I'll be talking to them about volunteering and doing all community work. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. We appreciate you, Sam. Thank you, sir. So Sham's with Lutheran Community Services Northwest, and I think he touched on it. One of the themes there is that they provide wraparound services, which means just because you show up and you want, some money for a food voucher, they're still going to assess the individual and be like, hey, you need this food voucher because you might not have a home, or you might not have a job, or you have other things going on in your life that can help it to where you don't have to continue to come back on a regular basis as a food. So that wraparound service is absolutely phenomenal. A lot of our people in the community, that's what they provide on some level. I can't think of any organization that says, oh, you need a place to stay. I don't have it. Bye. I don't think anybody does that. So what y'all provide at Lutheran Community Services Northwest is pretty awesome, and we appreciate you. This is the part of the event to where hopefully you've written down some notes of questions. If you're like me, you don't remember every one of them. So, and you can ask the panel any questions that you have about what they do, how they do it, and where you may see the future going. The floor is yours.
I just wondered at St. Vincent, do you accept garden produce for your food? When do you like it
You
to
can use
come?
the microphone. Yeah. Just grab the mic. Y'all will pass that back and forth. It will be in a second.
They'll turn it on over
Just
here.
talk.
Yep, there you go. It's on.
Hello. I work for chocolate. Yes, ma'am, we take garden vegetables. It's not real common. Bring them to the door and see a man named Aurelio, and he'd be happy to take them.
During the time that you're...
Yes, ma'am. He's there all the time if it's an emergency, but Mondays and Wednesdays are fine.
Thanks. Question for James. You said something interesting. You said that you know everyone on the streets. You recognize them. So do you purposely then walk around all the various areas like every day? Is that what you do?
Not every day, but yes, I have traveled probably most of Pasco. Originally, it's Columbia Park is closer to home, and at one time there was a significant population there, and I spent half my time in Richland and Kennewick. But now those areas have been cleared. The homeless have been asked to leave. So now I focus in Pasco. I know most of it, and you can generally consider that they're looking for food, shelter, and entertaining chemicals. So I know where to find them, and I've been doing this for several years, and I know almost probably all the faces. Some of them are success stories, Some of them have left the street. Some of them were very sick, and because they were referred to the range, the medical facility, they got better. But I do see the other side, which I won't go into, but I probably know most of the faces on the streets of Pasco, and it's interesting to note that sometimes they travel. I've seen some faces in Richland, in Kennewick, and they get on a bus, and then they find new territory. And I'm aware of a group that lives in the ravine, not a half a mile from me. And I'm familiar with the group that lives out on Bateman Island. And we at one time provided the homeless packets to the Riverside Deli, and he stopped giving them out because he said they're just coming there to eat. They're not getting to the food bank, and when they get their Social Security money, they go to Motel 8. And it kind of irritates, so he stopped giving them out. But yes, I do probably know majority of the faces and their associates. Funny thing is sometimes the people that might be distributing entertaining chemicals, they have looked at me like I might be competition. I'm handing out a bag of food to a homeless guy, and they're cruising by real slow. And I wave, do you have chocolate?
I have a question, actually. Will you turn me on? Hello. For St. Vincent, I was just curious. So you guys are like the food bank of Pasco. Do you work with, do you receive stuff from Second Harvest? What's your relationship with the other food banks in the Tri-Cities, Second Harvest, other food services?
Great question. So, yes, we receive donated food from Second Harvest, Northwest Harvest, Blue Mountain Action Committee, which is out of Walla Walla. We also have to purchase food, all right? So we also go around and do food rescue to the local grocers. It could be Walmart, it could be, not Albertsons, Safeway. Albertsons, Safeway. One of the bakeries or the, what do you call it, the bread. Great Harvest? Great Harvest. So there's a variety of places that actually donate food to us, which, thank God for that, right? But what we try to do is each week, just to have a big perspective, each week we make a menu up. We don't know what we're going to get from Second Harvest. You don't know until it shows up. So you make a menu up, hoping you have an idea, you're going to guess, and then you get what you get from Northwest Harvest, you get what you get from somebody else, and then you say, you know what, is this really nutritionally balanced for what these individuals are going to receive? So we try, which means, you used to get eggs. Well, eggs are really expensive, so we will try occasionally to buy eggs maybe during a holiday or something, and during the holidays maybe we'll get some sugar or some flour or something that we can purchase to make it very personable so they can have that holiday to celebrate. But we do have to go out and purchase items included with the rescue, food rescue that comes in for us. I think one other element that I will say, one of the things that Jim is doing for us in his outreach, we have no federal funds coming into us for the first time this year. Zero, all right? So what do you do when something like that happens? You don't just sit idle, all right? You do a lot of praying, and we do, but we can't sit idle. So what Jim is doing is he's reaching out to the farmers, and we've talked to the Farm Bureau, we've talked to everybody. We've shown this little flyer out there. And what we're trying to do is to reach those farmers that are not already contributing or donating to folks like Second Harvest, Northwest Harvest, BMAC, that kind of stuff, because we don't want to infringe on that. That's important because we rely on that as well. However, it's those small farmers that we're touching to, trying to figure out if you're not contributing over there, do you have a situation in which your crops, you can't sell them at this point in time, or you're just going to have to till them under, or can you donate? A lot of these farmers have big hearts. I'll tell you, we're seeing a lot of these Washington farmers, they do. And reaching out to them to contact us directly. And that is, we're crossing our fingers. We just got a brand new refrigerated truck. We have limited space. You don't always need a refrigerated truck to go pick up some of those items, but we're really trying to reach out to get folks to contribute. And when you brought up the question, from a gardener or somebody that grows vegetables, yes, absolutely. And as you can imagine, fruits and vegetables during this time of year, that's wonderful. Guess what happens in the wintertime when it's not there? That's when everybody needs it the most, right? So we do have to reach out to the various entities for that.
And may I briefly add, there's this wonderful group called Fields of Grace. And they contribute a significant amount of food to us. I've seen 6 tons of potatoes come in the door. But they will also glean from your personal apricot tree. I don't get any chocolate out of it, no. But I have fruit trees. They've come to glean them, and they'll send you a nice little note. If you have fruit trees or vegetables, grapes on the vine, they will come to your home and glean them for you and give them to hungry people.
Well, that's awesome that you're reaching out. I'm glad you touched on that. Like you said, we've had several conversations in the past about the community and how strong we are. And the proof is in this room right now. None of y'all work for the federal government in ways of giving back to the community, right? But you're here, you're showing up. The folks online, you're watching, you're showing up. We have a lot of what we need in our community here. It's a collaboration of what we can get from the outside, but mostly what we can do from the inside. One day that funds might be dried up, right? And the reality is that we still have to take care of our home. We still have to take care of our backyard, okay? And that's what all of this is about. That's why it's Mission Possible. We're bringing the community together to handle the community work. That person that's on the side of the street, that's not just a nobody. That's somebody in our community, our family member, right? Somebody's family member that you may or may not know directly. All right, so great work on what y'all are doing. If you don't mind, I have a question for the panel. Maybe one or two of y'all can answer it. What's a challenge that you face? We have a lot of community that wants to help, but not everybody's of the same mindset. So what's a challenge that you face with that, and what would you say to the folks that don't quite understand the fight and the struggle that we as service people are battling with, and the people that are needing the help is challenged with?
I think every organization in here needs more volunteers. And I'm in a few organizations, and the ones that I lead, I have the same challenge. And I try to say, if you volunteer, it doesn't have to be for an 8-hour day. 2 hours is enough to be significant in any organization. It doesn't have to be every Wednesday. If you can make it once a month, that helps. And one of our serious challenges is volunteers. And the second is the lack of food. So we're looking out of the community for more food, and Fields of Grace is another great source of food to the community. They don't only donate to us, they donate to a lot of people. But I would say our first challenge right now that you can help with is donate your time. And if you have $1, give it to one of the organizations. That helps too. But we need your help.
I just had one more thing I wanted to add really, really quick. And that is, in addition to that volunteer concept, be willing to think out of the box. And what I mean by that is our organization, I mentioned, we're all volunteers. So when we get in a board meeting, we're all volunteers. And some of us have been around a long time, so we still think the old way. We used to be kind of the mom and pop, organization feeding 30 people, in a month. And that was great during that time frame. We're now at 1,600 in 5 hours. We have to think differently, and we have to look at the needs. One of the things that I will tell you, we now have a mobile medical unit that shows up every Wednesday. That is a partnership that came from, it's called The Range. It was a clinic out of Spokane. And they turned it into a mobile medical unit They were looking in the Tri-Cities, and fortunately, I was able to connect up with them, and they looked all over, high and low. They partnered with Cadillac. They've now partnered with Trios. They've partnered with Our Lady of Lourdes, and they've partnered with Washington State University nurses. They now come every Wednesday during those opening hours, and they are able to treat and test and give vaccines and do all those wonderful things that are so helpful to our community. And it takes an element of trust and confidence for those individuals to even know that they can freely go up to these organizations and get help. But it allowed us that opportunity to think outside of the box, because no one at the time when it was first introduced thought it was a good idea. They all thought it was, we're not in the medical business. You're right, we're not. But they are. They have the skills, and they bring that resource to our facility.
We certainly benefit and send a lot of people your way, so thank you for the work you're doing. I think the challenge, speaking to the church here, that we face is a real spiritual darkness. And so you guys are praying people, so we need to pray for these organizations, pray for the leaders that are leading these organizations, because they are in an absolute battle against the enemy. And he wants to keep us in the dark, and he doesn't want us to win. And he wants people to lose the battle of addiction. And I think another challenge that just we face, maybe if we haven't experienced incarceration or foster care or addiction ourselves, we might look at these people and say, why can't they just get it together? Why can't they just pull themselves up by their bootstraps like I did and get a job? But you have to look at the whole picture. It took a lot of broken systems to get these people where they are, and it's going to take our whole community to bring them back home. The stories that we hear is that I was trafficked in the foster care system at 5 years old. By the time I was 11, they were feeding me drugs, which turned me into a drug addict. By the time I was 15, I was in a gang looking for a family, looking for a place of belonging. So that's how these people get into their 30s and their 40s, and they're absolutely stuck in addiction. So we need to look at their whole story, and like Jim said, just take time to listen to their stories, because it absolutely took all of those broken systems to get them where they are. And there's so much. We are a strong community. We have so many amazing, incredible resources. And you guys are the hands and feet here. You can listen to the resources that we have. And when you see a person and you're educated about what all of us offer, you can offer them a bus ticket and get them to our outreach services so we can do what we do best.
Thank you. One of the challenges is there's a lot of judgment when it comes to serving those populations. Like, some people are not trauma-informed. Others, they don't know what are the root causes of these people going on the streets. Do they just wake up one day and be like, oh, I want to be homeless. It's fun to be here. You know, when it's winter time, I'm freezing cold. I don't, it's not like that. So people being judgmental is one of the challenges we face. And it goes from judging the homeless people to us even who are serving them. Because they think, oh, you're the ones who are serving them, you're aiding them even to be more out here. So that judgment, because they don't know. Have you sat down? Have you had their story, as you just mentioned? Like, have you given them time? Okay, you're not even offering to volunteer, because maybe if you volunteer, you'll get a chance to associate with one of them and learn about their story, and then together you help brainstorm, how can I support you? How can I help you? So there is a lot of judgment when it comes to supporting these communities. And also another one is funding versus like sustainability. Like, we have, because of funding, we are even lacking a lot of upcoming organizations that can help support. Like, our program is intensive. we want to transition these families after doing I would say the bare minimum. After working with them, after stabilizing them to where they need to be, we need to transition them to a less intense program. But we don't have those programs here because they don't have funding. We had programs closing. They start, they do a good job, they be there for like 2 years, and then by the time you want to refer family transition from our program, they closed. And then when trying to look around what was the cause for them to close, they lacked funding. So I think we need more funding to sustain those organizations that have come out to support these groups that need help.
So yes, local church and businesses, if every single person just said yes to all of these organizations, and we all have the opportunity to, you can go on the website and it's like $5 a month to an organization. It does add up. You might think $5, becoming a $5 monthly partner is just a drop in the bucket. But when our whole community is doing it, that is how we are all funded. We are experiencing some tremendous cuts this year. Even though Grace Collective hasn't received federal funding, the state is being cut. We're all experiencing these funding gaps. So we need the local church to step up and provide those monthly financial gifts to us to sustain us through this time, maybe through the next couple of years.
Did you have more?
Amanda, I have a question for you. How do the women know that you are there? Women who are at risk or whatever it is that has been going on in their life, those women that have been trafficked, how do they know you're there? How do they get to you? And the other question with that is, where do they come from? Are they coming from other countries? Have you experienced having people come to you from who have been trafficked here from other countries?
So our closest community partner is Mirror Ministries. We are like peanut butter and jelly. If you're familiar with the work of Mirror Ministries, they are boots on the ground, finding women, men, and children that are caught in sexual exploitation. So they have an outreach center that is open, and they serve hundreds of people a year. So we work together very closely. We are in the same anti-trafficking network, and so that is certainly how women that are coming out of trafficking are finding us, is through those partnerships, as well as we are 20 feet from the only women and children's shelter in the Tri-Cities. So our strategic location, women just are continually walking in our door because the shelter is often full. There's only 25 beds there. They're doing everything they can, but the next stop is Grace Collective. So we're serving a lot of girls that are just coming in every day, and often that turns into conversations where we find that they are not safe, and we're calling on our anti-trafficking partners, Mirror Ministries, or even sending referrals out to our global anti-trafficking partner, Atlas Free, if we need to even get women out of the city into a safe house out of the Tri-Cities. That's some of the work we do. In regards to the global question, we do have a partnership with World Relief, yes, and we have hired some refugee women. So we don't only hire women that have been trafficked, but we hire women that we are on the preventative and the aftercare side of trafficking. So we have hired from World Relief refugee women from Afghanistan and Guatemala recently, this year, especially because they are being impacted by the federal cuts, if you've been following what's happening with World Relief.
This is a question for Amanda. Amanda, I know I've been to Grace Kitchen and packed pasta, but I am not familiar with, you take the women in and help them, but do you have room for them to stay there? Where do they go at night?
Yes, so many of the women we serve will do intakes into shelters or get them into transitional housing. So there's Tabasco, there's Oxford houses, there's Fourth Dimension. I mean, the transitional housing, praise God, is growing. So we are trying to get them into these transitional houses as soon as possible. Hopefully there's a bed at the shelter right next door, and then our case management is working on getting them into, most of the time is into Oxford, but there is other places. Three Rivers Therapy has a respite that people can stay at for 7 days. So it's really a huge collaboration. It is not easy. Everybody would say that here. It takes a lot of work. We have one case manager. Sometimes when a girl walks in and maybe she's not joining our program that day, the case manager could spend that entire day getting her off the streets for the night.
I want to touch on the housing aspect of it real quick. If y'all have your pen and paper out, write this down, nextstephelp.org. That's a website that Snipes H3 has been having the opportunity to be funded by the 3 cities together and with the help of the community. It's going to be a website to where you can go and find what beds are available in real time in the Tri-Cities. If you've been to Oxford Vacancies, their website, it's going to be similar to that, but for the entire community and beyond. So nextstephelp.org is what we're going to do to try to help streamline that process of somebody that's needing housing. So,
Amazing. Thank you.
You have another question? We have a question up front. One moment, ma'am. She's going to come with the microphone.
Do you fear any pimps or anything bothering you personally, or for interfering for their funding or whatever you would call it?
Is this a question for me? Yeah, is that for Amanda, I assume?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
No. We serve a mighty God, and we can't walk in fear like that. But we also are wise, so we have a very robust security system at Grace Collective. So we are on a Ring doorbell, and we are a locked facility with lots of cameras and alarms and a beautiful relationship with the Pasco Police. And so we're going to keep doing the good work we do and fighting the good fight.
That's a great question to ask. When you speaking of those folks who try to bring harm to our community, those folks are generally very weak individuals, insecure individuals. So when they see the community involved in helping somebody that they've been trying to manipulate and everything, they'll normally start to back off because they don't want the struggle. They're just going to go to the easy victims. So that's what you're talking about with volunteers. Sometimes your presence is powerful. Sometimes that's all that's needed for them to see the person that they're trying to manipulate and take advantage of talking to somebody else that they don't know who they are, and they be like, it's not worth the risk. So showing up is the first step.
What you're saying, Tabasco, really rings a bell with what happened today. Some of us went down to the Columbia Park and were serving meals to the homeless that were there in the park. And then I believe it was 3 of the women went in their vehicles and took meals, and they know where these people basically are. They have them in their phone, and they know that they're Wednesday, they're coming around, and so they call them and where are you today, and take the meal right to them, and wow. Mm-hmm. It was just, somebody is there to show that they care and to say, how are you doing this week? And there were just several stories that she shared with me that are just so invigorating and so hopeful that there are people out in our community that want to do things and are finding a way to do it. And we all just have to collaborate and be persistent and try to find ways to address this and get something done.
Thank you, Donna.
Something came to mind. There is I'll call it a disconnect between the communities and us. The city of Pasco has a no-go zone. There's a card that's distributed, and the homeless are suggested not to be there. And periodically, when there's an event, like there was a police event at Cafe de Art, they had a get-together. They completely swept the neighborhood for 5 blocks. I couldn't find a single soul. And then I saw the city representatives in suits and ties walking through the area, smiling, and there wasn't a single soul in sight. I think we need a cooperation between the people trying to help the poor and the hungry and the community community representatives. Pasco has a very, I won't say aggressive, should I? Aggressive. They will pull into a site and everyone leaves because they know if they don't, they could go to the Huskow, and if they do, they lose everything they own. That's very important to them. That basket that you see them pushing, that's all they have. And when they go to jail, it's on the street. Not for long, because if there's anything in there of value. And I know the cities are making an attempt to develop some sort of a program, but as of now, at one point, the homeless were camping the length of the Columbia Park, and they were generally in the bushes, not out in front. And there was some hanky-panky going on. I get it. But they have completely scoured Columbia Park of homeless. But if you have a vehicle, you can park in the park, and the homeless are living, they have a home, it's a car. I've met a lady who has her own car and her own little trailer, and she's living in Columbia Park. And she lives on her Social Security. There's other ladies that are on the street, here in and not here, but in Pasco, and I know they're being trafficked. And if I give food to the lady, she'll often say, "May I have some for my friend so-and-so?" That's her pimp. And I say, if he comes, I'll give it to him. I'll feed him. But there is a lot of sadness, especially in Pasco. And Pasco, I'm not picking on Pasco, but their idea of solving the problem is making them disappear. I don't know if that's a solution. I honestly don't think so.
All right, we have approximately
I have a
5
question.
minutes left.
Yeah. What? Oh, okay, good. Well, I'm going to ask mine first. Shem, my question was for you because it seems to me that St. Vincent and Grace both receive walk-ins. LCS is not so walk-in oriented, right? You guys get referrals. So how does that work? How does someone get referred to Lutheran Community Services? Can you talk about that?
Thank you. We get referrals and they can vary. Some, as I mentioned when I was speaking, they can come from school counselors after seeing the behaviors being portrayed by the student, and others are self-referral when they don't know, like when they've lost hope, they don't know what comes next, or someone tells them, hey, go to Lutheran, they may have what you need, so they come to us. We have walk-ins, but when we call those self-referrals, when they come to us, we welcome them and take them through the process and start working with them. Yep, thank you.
They will also come to our organizations. Lutheran Community Services often visit Grace Collective for the WISE program, for the children connected to the mothers. They will meet them on their lunch breaks there. So that's so important for women that are just riding the bus and single moms and working, trying to get their kids off the bus. For the WISE program to come to us, we're so grateful for that. Thank you.
So On that, one of our principles, like we are community based. We meet you where you are. We make it more flexible and comfortable for the families we serve. Sometimes some of them, they don't have transportation. Then when I'm having an appointment with you, I'm like, hey, where can we meet? Or we can meet at the community park, or let's meet at the library, or can we meet in my trailer? I was like, oh, sure, we'll have our meeting there. So we have our intervention there, like, hey, can you grab a few cleaning detergents as you're coming to me? I was like, sure. If I go check in our pantry, facilitated by you guys, doing a good job, and pick some stuff, go with them in my car and hand them over to them, talk to them, holding their hope, motivate them, and work on what we are supposed to work on that day, and then we call it an appointment.
I guess I get to be the last one. But I've had an opportunity to get to work with some homeless after I finished college down in the Phoenix area through one of the organizations that I was studying with. But working with this population can be heavy on our own hearts sometimes. How do you guys feed those hearts? How do you recharge your batteries? Do they get ignored, which can be which can happen because we want to help others, but it only is a short-term fix. What do you guys end up doing for that?
Okay, I'll go first. The work we do, not only us, even you guys, is challenging. It takes a lot of effort, but organizations like mine who are in mental health, we always preach self-care to our staff members, like, please take good care of yourself. Sometimes we listen to a lot of stories, and you go back home when you're like mentally exhausted. What do you do about it? You know, we preach self-care, and we have even programs within that help us. Like, if you want to talk to a therapist, we have free programs. Like, we don't have to pay anything. You just go and sign up. You have a couple sessions with a therapist, and that's how we survive.
I am often inspired by the people around me. I attend church regularly. I have some very close friends. And one example is sometimes someone will go through that spaghetti line 4 times. And I say, doggone it. And my friend Jay says to me, Jim, we're here to serve. We're here to serve. And I go, oh, okay, we're here to serve. But he's come back 4 times. And I go, gosh almighty. And sometimes it's frustrating to hear other people judge the poor. And I'm working with them, and I'm going, can't you see? But I have to realize that God is working with us, and He's in control. Not me, not you. And no matter what their opinion is, as crazy as it might be, His work is being done. And keep praying.
For the Grace Collective staff, our board is very wise and generous and kind, and so they give us very generous PTO. They also have us involved in soul care through Crosspoint Ministries, which is, really care for the souls of leaders in this hard work, and making sure that we're all Sabbathing. Me as the ED, I'm responsible to make sure my team is Sabbathing and resting and getting that self-care, because vicarious trauma is a real thing, and we start to experience that, and it's really, really important. We want to be in this for the long haul, all of us, so we have to take time to rest. And like you said, rest and know that when we rest, God is still always working, and He's faithful to accomplish the work for us. And often it happens best when we take that time to rest.
I just wanted to add, there are times when, take your rest, but when when you're dealing with someone who has hit rock bottom, and you're listening, it hits you in the heart. And when you leave at the end of the day, it stays with you. So as a volunteer, I will tell you, sometimes it's really hard to go to sleep at night because you're thinking about what's out there on the street, and these people are suffering. And I can sit there at 1, 2, and 3 o'clock in the morning, and my brain is in overdrive because I can't fix the problem. But that listening ear that I provided, that was helpful, and they know that they can come back to me. One of the things that we do have for our volunteers, we have a president, a local president that for St. Vincent de Paul, and Lindy Steyer, she has a lot of enthusiasm. And one of the things she's doing right now, bless her heart, is she's making us think about the success stories. And that's what keeps you going. You may hear one success story, and that's all it takes to motivate you to think, you know what, just keep trying, just keep working at it. It's those kinds of things that motivate me. I think Jim feels it the same way. And not every day are you going to see a success story. So it is going to weigh heavy on you. And you can't fix the world in overnight. It's like you always hear, you can't eat the whole elephant at one time. It's one bite at a time. So those old adages just keep coming back. So you don't give up. You think about those successes, and you pray constantly for those individuals that they come back to you, and you can share the hope, the inspirations. You can give them ideas on how to think a little bit differently, how their normal practices can change. They have to want to do it themselves. We can't fix it for them, but giving them those ideas and giving them the opportunity by giving them something else so they have, well, I keep using that discretionary fund term, but giving them those opportunities to think it through.
And not to that, I think this kind of work we do, to me, I call it like it's a calling. Social work is a calling. You cannot be paid enough. Yes, at the end of the day, we are expecting a paycheck, but this is a calling. If you're not there, you cannot be there. You cannot do it. It's like, it can be too much. But every time you wake up motivated, even ready to go. You know, like, I go on vacation. I went on vacation for a month, but my brain was like thinking about my family. It's the same, like, oh, by now it's 12 o'clock. I should be meeting with so-and-so. Maybe, you know, like, it's a calling. You always think about them. They become part of you. But sadly, with how we work, like, you cannot even keep those connections. When they transition from your program, they are gone. But some, they want to connect with you, tell you all the success stories, like, oh, we can. And personally, I love to see progress. I love to see progress because I see when they come into us with all the heavy stuff they have, taking through them through the assessment. You're like, you know, you want to be emotional, you want to stay professional. At the same time, you do it, and then after, you see them growing, you're working with them, you see them growing out of things, you see them getting, like, achieving stuff. By the time they transition from the program, they're happy. They've got hope back. Now because we hold hope for them, now you're giving it back to them. They go happy, they exit out the door knowing that they are going to be successful. So just seeing that makes you happy. You go back, and we call them graduations. When we transition them, we do graduations and celebrate all the strength they've gained the program. You go back and rest, feel like, I feel good. I've helped somebody.
That's awesome. We're coming up on time, so we're going to have Reverend come up and close us out. But first off, we want to give the panel a round of applause. And you in the audience also, and those online that's been showing up every day, give yourselves a round of applause.
And thanks to Bosky for being our moderator. It's such a joy to be together. I've been ending these evenings with, we're going to pause for a moment of silence and just kind of soak in our conversation, and then I'll close us with a poem. So I invite you to take a deep breath, and let's just sit in the silence for a bit. And our poem tonight is from a book called To Bless the Space Between Us by John O'Donohue. The poem itself is called For the Interim Time, and it made me think about, as many of us are trying to figure out, like, what are we going to do with this information? That's what this made me think about, the interim time, that like in between when you're kind of like trying to figure out what's happening next. It might also apply to the people that we are imagining and praying for as we hear about all these things. For the interim time. When near the end of day, life has drained out of light, and it is too soon for the mind of night to have darkened things. No place looks like itself. Loss of outline makes everything look strangely in between, unsure of what has been or what might come. In this wan light, even trees seem groundless, and a while it will be night. But nothing here seems to believe the relief of dark. You are in this time of the interim, where everything seems withheld. The path you took to get here has washed out. The way forward is still concealed from you. The old is not enough to have died away. The new is still too young to be born. You cannot lay claim to anything. In this place of dusk, your eyes are blurred, and there is no mirror. Everyone else has lost sight of your heart, and you can see nowhere to put your trust. You know you have to make your own way through. As far as you can, hold your confidence. Do not allow your confusion to squander this call, which is loosening your roots in false ground, that you might come free from all you have outgrown. What is being transfigured here is your mind, and it is difficult and slow to become new. The more faithfully you can endure here, the more refined your heart will become for your arrival in the new dawn. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.